Hello, my name is Jose Trejo, and today I'll be talking about Bronfenbrender's ecological system theory. But before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the person who created all of it. So that would be Yuri Bronfenbrenner. He was born April 29, 1917, in Moscow, Russia. He is a psychologist that he decided he wanted the way the system worked wasn't the correct way, because they believe that the poor, the way that they are is the reason how they will profit in life, how they will be in the future, as in they won't be doing as well. But he presented himself in front of Congress to let them know that what they're thinking is wrong, that is not correct, that there's more to student status than just how they are. So Yuri was able to convince Congress that the way they were thinking was wrong, that it's the bigger environment the child that he's put in that is able to help them grow more, that if we are able to give them more support or just the right tools, they will be able to help them. So it's important to give the child support through their families, their environment, whatever it was. They just needed that extra help to help them move along in life. So he was able to convince them, and with that came the Head Start program. In 1965. It's a government program that has been able to help many poor children, over 35 million overall. And because of his hard work, he was able to help them achieve many things in the future. And with that being said, I want to get a little bit into what it is his theory is. There's 5 parts to it. So what is the Bronfenbrender's ecological system theory? Yuri believed that there was different systems to how a child was, how they were influenced. So there are the microsystem, mesosystem, the ecosystem, microsystem, and chronosystem. That it wasn't just about their wealth or conditions, that they were able to do more. So first off is the microsystem, which is basically how it is, how depending how a child is brought up, how they're starting off their lives, could either be like in good conditions or bad conditions. That just depends a lot on how their family is. That can impact them a lot for their futures. So let's say if they're going through a difficult time, let's say mom and dad are always fighting, they're being picked on, their wealth isn't the best, it can lead to them not being able to grow in a better future. But if they were raised good, raised well, enter into a wealthy family, then obviously they're going to be happy children. The next is the mesosystem, and basically just focus on the child's personal life, the connections they have that can impact their everyday life. So for example, if the parent of the child decides to argue with their teacher, let's say they get in a huge argument, the parent goes home, they take the child home, but the next day they have to bring their child to school, and so the child has to deal now with an angry teacher, that they can either be more aggressive, more heavy on their work because of the way their parent behaved, and that's just something that comes with how a child lives because of the difficulties their own parent did because of their actions. Next is the ecosystem, and it's basically how a child has to deal with a parent's behavior, of how because let's say, for example, if a mother fights with her brother, like I have right here, she can bring that anger with her back home, and because of that, she'll let all that anger out on the child, on the family, or whoever's living there. They all have to deal with that, and that can lead to, let's say, the mother fighting with the father, which can lead to bigger problems with the child because of something they brought from outside their home. It's just always best to, whenever we get home, to help calm down and to be able to know how to interact with our children, because it's not their fault we're in a bad mood. So it's always good to know, to change things about ourselves. Next is the microsystem. The environment and culture of a child can be affected. The other systems can also affect all the other systems. And what that means is basically, an example on how I put down is, let's say the child is really smart. If they don't like the way they live, they don't know what they like, how things are for them, they can really work hard to get themselves and their families out of those poor conditions to be able to go from something terrible to something amazing. It's just depending on their surroundings, how much they're willing to put that effort to push on forward. So let's say with the child who has it all, obviously they're not gonna be like, oh, my parents are fine, I'm fine, there's nothing to worry about there. So just depending on someone's environment, it can really push them to move forward. For example, with immigrants, many children, students, they always push forward because they want to give back to their parents how they believe in them. They want to give that back to them. And finally, it's the chrono system. And it's basically just a change over time that a student goes through, how it can be to a positive or a negative outcome. And what that is basically an example. Let's say a family member passes away. It can affect them in a certain way that it can drag them down, it can make them feel horrible, sad. It'll just basically leave them in a situation where maybe they may not recover, but with over time, they could. It just depends how they process things, but that can also affect their everyday lives also. And another example could be parents getting divorced and fights, losing a friend, stuff like that can really impact the students' behavior. And in today's issues that I've seen, like in the classrooms, how students live, behave, how they are, it could also just how Uri explained, it just depends on their background. So something that I've noticed that connects with the lesson from what I've learned throughout the semester, it was the multiculturalism. So multiculturalism, as we know, it comes with different backgrounds, different cultures, different religions, different things like that. It just all depends on us to really know our students. So with multiculturalism, it can mean that there's many students that come from different backgrounds, like I said. It could be stuff like mainly immigrant parents coming from a different country. So they don't have much to give to their children. They don't have the time, or they don't have to provide them to have like nice clothing. They struggle to help them because most of the time they're either working or they're just far too busy to help them. So that can really impact the way they are, their behaviors. So with Yuri's theory, that really connects a lot with multiculturalism. It can also lead with the parents that, let's say they get really aggressive with their children, they're impatient, they're just really tired. They can basically release that negative energy towards them, really affecting them, hurting them. And it's just ties back to what Yuri said. It's just depending on how things are in our lives that can impact us. So with something that Yuri created, he was able to help a lot of students out of poverty, out of like difficult times. So they were able to do better in life. So his theory, his program that he has really has helped out a lot of students overall. So how Yuri believed in his students, like, or the people, we should believe in our students, how we should really push that effort into helping them no matter what, whatever difficult times they have. It's just believing and supporting them, because as you can see, many children were able to profit from this. And this is my sources that I used. I found a YouTube video that talks about Yuri and his 5 theories and what he did to create everything overall. And that it is all for my presentation. Thank you.